Okay, did I knock this off, or you can all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So far, so good.
Faith in Action, the life and the lessons of Dr. Martin Luther King. As I began to prepare for this even several months ago, I was thinking that first I need to acknowledge that we sit here today on sovereign land.
Mm-hmm.
This is the land of the Yakama Nation. And as a member of the Yakama Association of Faith Communities, each time we gather, we acknowledge that we are here, and we give thanks and gratitude for the land and the people. So this is what we always say together, and I thought I'd just share it with you this morning. We remember and honor all indigenous peoples of the world, especially the Yakama Nation, whose land we now occupy. They are the original stewards of the land, and we give thanks for the Yakama people and express our gratitude for the witness on how to live a life that is honorable. May we always remember that the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth, and we are all relatives in life. Help us to learn from our past mistakes and be instruments of justice and peace for all people in our world today. So peace, hope, love, compassion, learning from our mistakes, and going humbly forward. This weekend, we celebrate the life and the lessons of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was one of the great civil rights leaders, a Baptist preacher, a man rooted in faith, and through that faith was called to action. Dr. King once said, "Life's most precious question is to ask, what are you doing for others?" So what does it mean to have faith? What does it mean to put our faith into action? Martin Luther King Jr. was born in Atlanta, Georgia on January 15th, 1929. Really just a generation before my generation. His father was a prominent Baptist preacher at the Ebenezer Baptist Church, where his maternal grandfather had also been a pastor. He witnessed his father stand up against segregation and discrimination. And he learned early on that faith was not meant to be silent in the face of injustice. He entered Morehouse College. Go ahead, Bill. To study divinity, as his father and his grandfather before him had done. It was in Boston where he met Coretta Scott, and it was here where they were married. And in Boston Commons, a huge park, this statue is probably half as big as this room, and you can walk around. It's called the Embrace, and it's Coretta Scott and Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. believed deeply that God was active in our lives, and that we as humans were called to cooperate with that purpose of love, justice, and compassion. Go ahead. This one is hard to see. That's me in the back. When he studied the prophets, in Amos, it is written in the Old Testament, "Let justice roll down like waters." And so that's the saying in the middle there. And it's light at the top and dark at the bottom, and the water flows down. It's in the Smithsonian African American History Museum. And as you go into that building, you go deep into the ground. You start in the basement with the slave trade, and you work your way up. And by the time we got to this reflection pool, I was emotionally exhausted. Yet this place is a place of reflection, a place of peace, a place of healing, and a place of hope. Dr. King understood that Christianity was not merely about personal salvation, but about social transformation. And here at Unity, as we close and we look at our vision, we say together, a world powerfully transformed through growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. So, after Dr. King earned his degrees, he was called to pastor the Dexter Avenue Church in Montgomery, Alabama. Montgomery is the location of the Civil Rights Memorial. Go ahead. And this one, it's hard to see, but there again, the words, until justice rolls down like waters, the righteous like a mighty stream. It's his quote. And that pool there is granite with names etched into the edge. And you can walk around and you can touch it and feel them. They are only some of the children, the young people, the men and women that died through violence during the Civil Rights Movement. It's a powerful symbol. Faith is hard at times. Go ahead. This is a statue. Larry and I were in Little Rock, Arkansas this past fall. And this is called the Little Rock Nine. And it's the young men and women, a statue of them, that were the first to integrate the high school in Little Rock. Faith and courage, they look like just young people, I think. Go ahead, Bill. This is a picture we took this fall of the high school. I can't imagine walking in, being them, the faith that it must have taken in a time when they were not welcome. It's a formidable place. And it's still a functioning high school. There were lots of kids coming and going. It's fun. In 1957, Dr. King attended the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. It was there that the black pastors were meeting to decide how could they encourage their congregation to take on social justice. And he believed that it had to be through nonviolence, one thing. He also believed in the power of the media. Television, live television was just beginning to be a thing. They were using it to show footage of the Vietnam War. And Dr. King believed that if through the power of television, the nation saw the daily injustices of not having a working drinking fountain, of segregation, of harassment, of inequality in the workplace, that we could change the tide, that there would be a national movement that could happen. The wave of public opinion and the civil rights movement could become one of the greatest movements of our time. Dr. King had studied Gandhi, and he knew that change was important through nonviolence. Go ahead. So on that same trip, we also were in Memphis. And the Lorraine Motel is the site where Dr. Martin Luther King died through violence. The first exhibit as you enter is like a rotating exhibit, and it starts with Bayard Rustin, a name I had never heard before. And so I was curious. And then it starts with his life, that he was raised by his grandmother, who was Quaker. And it was through his Quakerism that he was influenced through his life. So I have a Quaker heritage in my background. My mom's side of the family are all Quakers. So I was curious about him and his work with Dr. King. Together they became the most influential leaders in the civil rights movement. What does it mean to be a person of faith? What does it mean to put that faith into action? And what is ours to do today? For Bayard Rustin, it said that he was a lifelong advocate for nonviolence. He believed that social change could be achieved through moral persuasion, mass action, and disciplined nonviolence. He was a skilled organizer and a strategist, and he helped lead the March on Washington in 1963 and the Jobs for Freedom. How many of you remember seeing film clips of that? Yeah, a few of you. Rustin worked in linking civil rights to economic justice, arguing that racial equity required fair employment, labor rights, and anti-poverty policies. So a little quick side note, just because this is a statistic that sticks with me. Today, we have three adult daughters. They earn 87 cents for every white male. As white women, 87 cents to the dollar. 13 cents may not sound like a lot, but if we were to look at an annual salary of, say, $50,000, they would earn $42,500. A black man would do slightly better than a white woman, earning $43,500. Think about how that changes over a lifetime of work. 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. King believed that hate could not drive out hate. Only love could do that. So one of my faith steps this last year was to join the Moments for Blessing that happen in this community that are organized by that Yakima Association of Faith Communities. Everyone in the community is invited to attend. The group meets at a location where a death has occurred through violence. Sometimes it's a small group, sometimes it's larger. It's interesting to me, this past year, everyone I've gone to, the Yakima Police Department always has a presence, and I wonder, were they the ones, the young men or women that were called to that scene? Or are they there just as a witness to the community that they care? Sometimes neighbors join us, sometimes they watch from porches. Friends of the deceased, family members. It's heart-wrenching to witness the sense of loss of life through violence. This year, the day before Christmas Eve, a 17-year-old young man died by violence. At his moment for blessing, his grandmother wept openly, and his young friends stood in silence. Every time we meet as a group, we pray that we won't have to ever come together again. At these events, I feel overwhelmed, angry, this sense of loss of life in our community. Yet I remind myself to channel that energy into making our community safer for everyone, and to be a witness for the friends and the family that there are people that they don't even know that care. At each moment of blessing, we begin with a reading from Dr. Martin Luther King. It says this: darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. It says, let our truth guide our hearts and our minds as we gather in this time of grief and acknowledge this tragic death. We confess that this tragedy is in part a failure to create a safe community that is humane, compassionate, and just. Then we pledge to reclaim this space, and right now Reverend Colby Roberts from St. Michael's sprinkles water on the ground, so kind of this ongoing water. We pledge to work towards a world free from violence, full of love and hope, where every person matters and can live safely. Dr. King reminds us that faith without action is empty. Prayer without courage is incomplete. Worship without justice is hollow. Who will be the voice of the voiceless, the defender of human dignity? In the March on Washington, in the I Have a Dream speech, Dr. King stated, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Dr. King was in Memphis, Tennessee to support the sanitation workers' strike. The night before he was shot and died, he gave his famous "I've been to the mountaintop" speech. And he said to the huge crowd gathered, "I've been to the mountaintop. I may not get there with you, but as a people, we will get to the promised land." He had received death threats to himself and his family, his young children, and yet he did not be dissuaded by that fear. He lived with faith. He asked, Bill, can you say it for me? Mahela? No, it's not a sign. Mahalia Jackson, to sing one of his favorite spirituals, "Precious Lord, Take My Hand." And the choir is going to come up, actually, and do that song for us. And while they're gathering, I'll let you know that there's this book in the Yakima Library System on that song and their relationship. But think about asking your friend to sing that song and then going back to the Lorraine Motel. Very nice. Thank you. And Sylvia, where did she go? Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for including that. So, here we are, 58 years later. The work of justice for peace continues. So how do we put our faith into action? So 2 weeks ago, Marilyn Holloway led us in the White Stone ceremony. And she shared a story during her talk of the Unity Church in Houston, Texas, where my youngest daughter and I had attended. She talked about the newly coming minister or church leader, and during the white stone ceremony, he said, yes, I need wisdom, I need guidance, I'm going to need strength. But what kept coming up for him was joy. And his brain wanted to say, no, I need guidance and strength and that. But his heart kept saying joy. So as I sat there and meditated on what was going to be my word, I was thinking joy and celebration. And I have so much to look forward to in 26. But the word that kept coming up for me was faith. And then as I was getting ready to do this, I thought, oh, okay. Faith in action. What does that mean? What is mine to do? I come from a family of big faith doers. My grandfather, who grew up, we were as close as you could be, where our roofs were connected, where we lived, was the first U.S. person back to Hiroshima after the bombs. He believed that if he went and built houses, the Japanese people would know that there were folks that were sorry for their losses. And so that was part of his legacy. My Aunt Agnes lived in Issaquah, and as a child or young teenager, I remember her driving to Bremerton to protest the nuclear bomb submarines that were being built in Bangor. That was like a big, big thing that got talked about. And my other uncle was Gordon Hirabayashi, who was born to Japanese immigrant parents in Auburn, Washington. And as a student at the University of Washington when the Second World War began, they said, oh, you have to have curfew, and then you and your family are going to have to go to be incarcerated. We used to use the word interned, like it was protecting them, but now we know that was not true. And he fought that and went all the way to the Supreme Court to say that, yeah, you are an American citizen. But that took from whenever the 40s to the 80s to have that. So what is mine to do? Because those are big things. At a previous church here in Yakima, we had sold our downtown building and we were going to build on a new site. And so temporarily we met in that kind of odd-looking brown building at Terrace Heights Memorial. You know, the big cemetery when you go towards Terrace Heights, there's that little brown building. It was my job during some of that time to put out these huge, heavy sandwich boards on the sidewalk so people would know that our congregation was meeting there and invite them in. And they were heavy and awkward and it was cold, and I'm like, nobody's showing up just because they're driving by and coming in, right? I'm pretty sure no one ever came in because of those sandwich boards. Now, they might have affected them later. But I was lamenting the situation to a wise and wonderful elder in the congregation. And she said to me, you can always pray for those going by. And I thought, pray? So simple, and yet we know so powerful. And that suggestion has stuck with me all those years. And when I come across places in my life where I'm not sure what's mine to do, I can always turn to that divine and ask for guidance. Each Sunday here, we have such an abundance of snacks. Do you notice that? That is faith in action. There's no sign-up sheet that says a bazillion people are going to bring a bazillion snacks, and yet we all appreciate it. The power of a bumper sticker. Some of you have these on your wherever. Who knows who reads this when you're stuck in traffic and goes to that website, Unity, what's that? Can make a difference. The meal kits that Amy and Peggy organized over the holidays, bringing food to people in our community that don't have enough. powerful way, and all of you that contributed to that project too. Faith in action. Our little free library, who knows where those books go into the community? What child has their own book because they picked it up out of the library and they don't have to take it back? The power of a smile, the power of a hug, just being here on any given Sunday. We don't know who needs to see us or be a part of this congregation. That sense of belonging, that sense of connection. Tomorrow is Martin Luther King Jr. Walk. Starts at the parking lot opposite Safeway on 5th Avenue and goes down to the convention center. And then there's a shorter thing inside the convention center. It would be about an hour. This afternoon at Central Lutheran Church, there's a service that begins at 3 o'clock. The list is endless, and the ways are big and small for each of us, for me, to put my faith into action. My hope and my prayer is that each of us will find a way to answer that question, what are we doing for others? And to put our faith in action and to work for justice until one day justice rolls down like water. Thank you.